Hey everyone, this is David Brown with the migration update for May 18th, 2023 from the Braddock Bay Hawk Watch. And first, let me say that tomorrow's looking like a really good day, both for songbirds and for raptors, so stick around until later in the video for the full forecast. I started the day off at Manitou Beach Preserve, and what's that on the ground? Yep, we had a frost last night. It got down into the mid-30s. But there was a really nice sunrise from the Braddock Bay West Spit. And Birdcast said the migration was only low to medium last night, but there was still a decent number of birds around and a decent variety as well. Here we have a rusty blackbird perched up in a tree. And here's a male magnolia warbler, which have really distinctive tails. They have this thick black band at the tip and a white band before that. So if you see that tail pattern, you know it's a magnolia warbler. Here's a red-eyed vireo, a species that's more often heard rather than seen. And I was telling someone today that for my first year of birding, I didn't even know red-eyed vireos existed. And then in my second year of birding, I learned that they're like the third most common breeding bird in Pennsylvania. And now I hear them everywhere because they sing all summer and they sing throughout the day. But they're usually tucked all the way at the top of trees, so they can be difficult to find, especially when the leaves are out. We had a couple of Swainson's thrushes near the parking lot, and you can see those spectacles, they say. It's a bit of an eye ring and then extended in front of the eye. Looks like it's wearing glasses. We did go to Braddock Bay Park for a bit, walked around, and even started the hawk watch there and had a small group of turkey vultures and broad-winged hawks. But the lake breeze kicked in pretty early, so we ended up going over to Frisbee Hill Park. I arrived there around 11 a.m. and it was a clear sky, and the wind was a northeast lake breeze the rest of the day that became quite strong and unfavorable for migration. We did get some nice looks at some raptors. Here we have a juvenile broad-winged hawk. So we can see it's kind of a small, compact buteo with somewhat pointed wingtips. Not really markings in the patagial areas like we see on red tails. It's got a little bit, but not those patagial bars you see on the red tails. There was a light but steady flow of turkey vultures throughout the day. Here we have a raptor where we see a long tail and kind of long wings. Overall, real pale underneath with more of a darker head. So this is a northern harrier, and it's probably a juvenile just because of how plain it is underneath, but obviously the photo quality is not the best. Here's another juvenile broad-winged hawk. You can see those typical juvenile markings on the underside. It's not that brown barring of the adults, it's more of a brown speckling. And this juvenile shows quite a dark trailing edge to the wing. Maybe not quite as dark as on the adults, but sometimes in certain lighting conditions, the trailing edge on juveniles can look quite bold as well. Here's another raptor, and just from the shape, we should know that this is a buteo. And we look and we see those dark patagial bars and a belly band, contrasting with the clean upper breast. And we see a dark trailing edge to the wing and a red tail. So we know that this is an adult red-tailed hawk. Here we have a large raptor that's kind of a mix of dark and light. See a big head on it. So this is a bald eagle, and it's a juvenile. So we see kind of a dark head and relatively dark underside. A lot of white in the wing pit area. And these pale inner primaries are actually a good field mark to use to age juveniles. You see it on both wings here. Here's an osprey from the nest over at Frisbee Hill Park. Gave us a really nice look, and you can see that ospreys like to bow their wings a little bit. And here's the same osprey overhead checking us out. Taking a look at the eBird list from the West Spit this morning, we had 55 species. For our short time at Braddock Bay Park, we had 38 species. And at Frisbee Hill, only 33 species, so not a ton of variety around today. Taking a look at the HawkCount report for our migrant raptor totals, today we had 77 turkey vultures, 3 bald eagles, 1 northern harrier, 15 broad-winged hawks, 11 red-tailed hawks, for a total of 107 migrant raptors today. That brings the May total to 9,175 and the season total to exactly 46,000. There were no new species for the season today. Taking a look at the forecast for tomorrow, we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds early, then becoming cloudy later in the day. Slight chance of a rain shower, high in the mid to upper 70s. Winds south at 13 miles per hour, shifting to southwest up to 15 miles per hour. So these are really good winds, combined with a bit of sunshine in the morning, we have the potential for a really big flight. Now, with those winds being that speed, there is the chance that a lake breeze might kick in, especially in the afternoon, if the winds weaken a little bit. So if that happens, we'll probably lose the flight line from the platform. Might be able to catch it over at Frisbee Hill. We'll have to see. But we'll deal with that if it happens. But the winds are looking really good. We had a similar day to this last year on May 20th. So one day later, very similar weather, and we had a big flight of juvenile broad-winged hawks. We had a record flight of bald eagles with 214, and we also had a Mississippi kite that day. And I had 97 species total for my checklist from Braddock Bay Park that day. So tomorrow looks like it could be a really good day, not just for raptors, but songbird migration overnight tonight should be really good. This should bring the next big push of warblers as we get to these kind of later season warblers. So blackpoll warblers, should be more cuckoos around, maybe mourning warblers and Wilson's warblers. So just should be a really good variety of birds around tomorrow. And hopefully those winds will bring in a rarity or two as well. For Saturday, rain likely, high in the low 60s, winds southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. So it's another good wind direction, but with that rain, and there's a pretty high chance of rain throughout the day, we might not get much of a hawk flight, but I think we might do okay for songbirds. I think the overnight migration might be pretty good with then rain moving in, which sometimes knocks birds down. So Saturday, even with the rain, could be another really good day for birding, just not for raptors. And for Sunday, it's looking sunny with a slight chance of a rain shower, high around 70. Winds west-northwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour, so it's a decent wind direction. Would expect moderate migration. I haven't shown windy.com in a while, so let's take a look. You can see that all throughout the region there will be southerly winds, and you can imagine that we're about here, right above the word Rochester, where the lake cuts down to the southeast. So you can see that those southerly winds are bringing everything up to the lake shore. Once they hit the lake shore, they don't want to get blown out over the lake, so they head east, trying to get around the lake. So that's why these southerly winds are really good for concentrating the hawks right over Braddock Bay Park. And if we zoom in even closer, we are about here. You can see the east spit here and the west spit over here, but we're in the park here. So you can see anything going along the shoreline. Once they get about here, they end up over the water and want to cut back in. But also anything that was, let's say, a mile away from the lake that's heading due east, they're still going to get scooped up and come overhead of the platform just as this land cuts south. So that's why we have such a good hawk migration that passes through the Braddock Bay area. All right, well, the past 2 days have been a bit slow for raptors, but tomorrow's looking really good. So I hope you're able to get out birding and possibly join us out at the platform. From Lyco Birds, this is David Brown. Thanks for watching.